The setting sun painted Chicago's ruins in hues of amber and gold, casting long shadows across the debris-strewn streets. Ethan Reed adjusted his worn tactical gear as he navigated through the skeletal remains of what was once the magnificent Millennium Park. His weathered features and calculating gray eyes reflected years of survival in a world forever changed by the galactic quarantine. The sound of shifting rubble caught his attention. In one fluid motion, born from years of combat experience, he drew his pulse rifle and took cover behind a fallen concrete pillar. The movement came from the old cultural center, a place he'd been avoiding due to its unstable structure. That's when he saw her. She emerged from the shadows like a vision from another world, which, technically, she was. Her skin held an iridescent quality that shifted between deep indigo and midnight blue, and her eyes, with their distinctive horizontal pupils, were the color of golden honey. She wore what appeared to be a researcher's garb, though it was now covered in dust and debris. "I mean no harm," she called out in perfect English, raising her four-fingered hands. "I'm researcher Naira Val from the Galactic Anthropological Society." Ethan kept his weapon trained on her, though his curiosity was piqued. It had been years since any alien had openly approached a human, not since Earth had been designated as a quarantined death world. "You're a long way from the approved observation zones," he responded, his voice gravelly from disuse. The first signs of trouble came with a dramatic drop in barometric pressure. Ethan noticed it immediately, a skill honed by years of surviving Earth's increasingly volatile weather patterns. Naira was absorbed in her readings, her delicate instruments scanning the vault's reinforced walls. "We need to move," Ethan announced, already gathering essential supplies. "Something big's coming." Naira glanced up from her devices, her golden eyes reflecting confusion. "The weather monitors show nothing abnormal." She stopped mid-sentence as her instruments suddenly lit up with warnings. "That's impossible. The atmospheric pressure shouldn't be able to change this rapidly." "Welcome to Earth," Ethan replied grimly, tossing her a reinforced weather suit. "Where the impossible happens every Tuesday." They emerged from the vault into a world transformed. The sky had turned an ominous green-black, and the wind had picked up considerably. In the distance, a wall of clouds approached, rotating with an unnatural fury. "Is that?" Naira's voice trembled. "Supercell tornado," Ethan confirmed, securing their gear. "Category F5, maybe stronger." The quarantine changed Earth's weather patterns, made them more extreme. "We call these megastorms." As if responding to his words, the storm unleashed its fury. The wind rose to a deafening howl, and debris began to fly through the air with lethal force. Naira's environmental suit struggled to compensate for the rapid pressure changes. "My systems are failing," she shouted over the wind. This level of atmospheric violence wasn't supposed to be possible. Ethan grabbed her hand, pulling her close. "Stop thinking like a researcher and start thinking like a survivor. Your tech won't save you here, you need to feel the storm." They ran through the ruins, dodging flying debris and collapsing structures. Ethan moved with an almost preternatural awareness of the storm's patterns, anticipating where debris would fall, which buildings would collapse, which paths remained safe. A massive piece of metal sheeting came spinning toward them like a giant blade. Without hesitation, Ethan threw them both into a depression in the ground, covering Naira with his body. The metal shrieked overhead, missing them by inches. "How?" Naira gasped, her bioluminescent markings pulsing rapidly with fear and adrenaline. "How did you know?" "Experience," Ethan replied, already pulling her up. "Humans don't just survive these storms, we learn from them. Every disaster teaches us something new." They fought their way through the maelstrom, seeking shelter in an underground transit station. As they descended the stairs, the wind tried to tear them away, but Ethan's grip remained firm, anchoring them both. In the relative safety of the station, Naira's scientific curiosity overtook her fear. "Your neural responses during the storm, they were extraordinary." You weren't just reacting, you were anticipating, calculating, adapting in real time to chaotic conditions. Ethan began setting up emergency lights, his movements efficient and practiced. Humans evolved to read patterns in chaos. It's how we survived long enough to become what we are. And what exactly are you? Naira asked, helping him secure their temporary shelter. Everything I thought I knew about human capabilities seems inadequate. We're survivors, Ethan replied, his gray eyes meeting her golden ones. But more than that, we're adapters. Every challenge Earth throws at us, we overcome. Every threat, we face. Every limit, we push past. The storm raged above them, its fury rattling the very foundations of the city. But in that underground shelter, Naira began to understand something profound about humans. Their strength wasn't in their technology or their physical capabilities, it was in their relentless drive to overcome, to adapt, to survive. The Galactic Council calls Earth a death world, she said softly, watching Ethan check their perimeter. But they're wrong, aren't they? It's not a death world, it's a proving ground. Ethan paused, a slight smile crossing his weathered features. Now you're starting to understand. He sat beside her, their shoulders touching. Every species in the galaxy evolved to fit their environment perfectly. Humans? We evolved to adapt to any environment. That's what makes us dangerous, and valuable. As the storm continued its rampage above, Naira found herself recording everything: Ethan's elevated body temperature that helped him cope with the pressure changes, his enhanced muscle density that let him move through near-tornado force winds, his ability to process and react to multiple threats simultaneously. But more than the physical adaptations, she was fascinated by the mental ones, the way he remained calm in chaos, focused in crisis, determined in the face of impossible odds. My people thought they were protecting the galaxy by quarantining Earth, she admitted. But we were wrong. We weren't containing a threat, we were isolating the very species that might help us all survive. Before Ethan could respond, a new sound cut through the storm's roar, the distinctive whine of alien engines. His expression hardened. Enforcement drones. The storm must have disrupted their cloaking systems. Naira's markings pulsed with alarm. If they find us together. They won't, Ethan assured her, already formulating a plan. Because there's one thing the Galactic Council never counted on when they quarantined us. What's that? They gave us nothing but time to get better at surviving. He checked his weapons and gear. Ready to see what else humans can do. The underground transit tunnels stretched before them like a labyrinth, their emergency lights casting long shadows on water-stained walls. Ethan moved with quiet confidence, leading Naira through passages that seemed randomly chosen but followed a precise pattern only he understood. The enforcement drones won't follow us down here, he explained, his voice barely above a whisper. Too many magnetic interference patterns. Plays havoc with their sensors. Another adaptation? Naira asked, her bioluminescent markings providing additional light in the darkness. Using Earth's natural electromagnetic fields to your advantage? Humans didn't survive by being predictable, he replied with a slight smile. We learned to use everything around us, even our planet's weaknesses, as strengths. They descended deeper into the tunnel system, passing abandoned maintenance stations and collapsed sections. Naira's instruments, still partially functioning after the storm, began picking up unusual energy signatures. There's something down here, she said, studying the readings. These energy patterns, they're similar to Galactic Council technology, but different. Modified somehow. Ethan stopped at an intersection, his expression thoughtful. During the first days of the quarantine, not everyone fled Earth. Some alien scientists stayed behind, fascinated by human resilience. They built research stations to study us. Most were abandoned when the Council tightened restrictions. Most? Naira's golden eyes widened. You mean some are still active? Instead of answering, Ethan led her down a side tunnel that ended at what appeared to be a solid wall. He pressed his hand against a seemingly random pattern of pipes, and a hidden door slid open with a soft hiss. "Welcome to Station Zero," he said, ushering her inside. One of humanity's best-kept secrets. The facility that opened before them was a stunning blend of alien and human technology. Holographic displays filled the air with cascading data, while robust Earth-made generators hummed steadily in the background. But what caught Naira's attention were the walls of research data, centuries of observations about human adaptation and evolution. "This is incredible," she breathed, moving from display to display. "These studies, they go beyond simple physical adaptations. They're tracking changes in human cognitive processing, emotional responses, even genetic expression." After the quarantine, the scientists who stayed behind made a discovery, Ethan explained, watching her examine the data. Human adaptation wasn't just physical, it was happening on every level, accelerating with each generation. Naira's fingers danced across a holographic interface, her researchers' training allowing her to quickly process the information. "These readings, they show human neural plasticity far beyond anything we thought possible. You're not just adapting to survive Earth's conditions, you're evolving to thrive in them. Which is exactly why the Council wants to keep us contained," a new voice announced. They turned to see a figure emerge from a side chamber, an elderly human woman with silver hair and sharp blue eyes, wearing a modified researcher's uniform. "Dr. Eleanor Wright," she introduced herself. "One of the last surviving members of the original research team." "You're supposed to be dead," Ethan said, tension evident in his stance. "All the original researchers were reported deceased." "Another lie in a long list of deceptions," Eleanor replied, moving to a central control panel. "The Council didn't just quarantine Earth to protect the galaxy from us. They did it to hide what humanity was becoming." She activated a main display, showing a complex diagram of human DNA alongside various environmental factors. "Every challenge Earth presents, the storms, the shifting magnetic fields, the increased radiation, they're not just obstacles we overcome. They're catalysts for change." Naira studied the data with growing amazement. The human genome, it's not just adapting. It's actively incorporating new capabilities, expressing traits that should take millions of years to develop. "Exactly," Eleanor confirmed. "Humanity isn't just surviving on a death world. We're being transformed by it. Each generation is stronger, faster, more resilient than the last. Our neural networks are becoming more complex, our sensory processing more acute, our ability to adapt more rapid." "But why hide this?" Ethan demanded. "Why keep us imprisoned on Earth if we're evolving to be better?" Eleanor's expression turned grim. "Because we're not just evolving to survive Earth. We're evolving to survive anything. The Council's greatest fear isn't that we'll bring death to the galaxy, it's that we'll bring change. Unavoidable, unstoppable change." Naira's markings pulsed with sudden understanding. "The quarantine, it's not a prison. It's an incubator. They're containing human evolution until they can understand how to control it. And they're running out of time," Eleanor added, bringing up new data streams. "The rate of human adaptation is accelerating. Soon, no quarantine will be able to contain us." The facility's lights flickered suddenly, and distant alarms began to sound. Eleanor moved quickly to another console. "They've found us. The storm must have revealed the station's energy signature." "How?" Ethan asked, already moving to defensive positions. "The magnetic interference." "They're using new technology," Naira interrupted, reading the sensor data. "Quantum-based tracking systems. They're not just looking for us, they're looking for proof of what humans have become." Eleanor began rapidly transferring data to secure systems. "Everything we've learned, everything we've discovered about human potential, we can't let them destroy it. The galaxy needs to know the truth." As the sound of enforcement drones grew closer, Ethan and Naira shared a look of understanding. They had found more than just a hidden facility, they had discovered the truth about humanity's destiny, and now they had to survive long enough to share it with the galaxy. The enforcement drones breached the facility's outer defenses with frightening efficiency. Inside Station Zero, Eleanor's fingers flew across holographic interfaces, initiating emergency protocols while Ethan established defensive positions. Naira, connected to the station's advanced sensors, monitored the approaching threat. 15 drones, she reported, her markings pulsing with tension. But there's something strange about their energy signatures. They're not standard enforcement units. Because they're not here to enforce, Eleanor said grimly, never taking her eyes off her work. They're here to collect. The Council has waited decades for proof of human evolutionary acceleration. Now they have it. A massive data archive emerged from a hidden compartment in the floor, a physical backup of decades of research. Eleanor retrieved it, her movements urgent but precise. Everything we've learned about human adaptation is in here. The genetic markers, the neural enhancements, the environmental triggers, and something else. Something the Council fears more than human evolution itself. An explosion rocked the facility's upper levels. Ethan moved to a defensive position near the main entrance, his combat instincts fully engaged. Whatever you're going to tell us, make it fast. Eleanor activated one final display, a star map of the galaxy, with numerous systems marked in pulsing red. The galaxy is dying, she stated flatly. Not quickly, not obviously, but systematically. Thousands of worlds are experiencing unprecedented environmental collapse. Stable planets are becoming unstable. Paradise worlds are developing extreme weather patterns. That's impossible, Naira breathed, her researchers' training warring with what she was seeing. The galaxy has been stable for millions of years. Until now, Eleanor confirmed. Something is changing on a fundamental level, something that affects gravitational fields, magnetic patterns, even the basic laws of physics in localized areas. The Council's best scientists have been tracking it for centuries, watching it spread like a cancer through the galaxy. Another explosion, closer this time. Dust rained from the ceiling as security barriers began to fail. What does this have to do with humans? Ethan demanded, checking his weapons. Eleanor's blue eyes blazed with intensity. Everything. Because while other species are watching their worlds become death worlds, humans are adapting to exactly these kinds of conditions. We're not just surviving a hostile environment, we're evolving to thrive in it. Understanding dawned in Naira's golden eyes. The quarantine, it wasn't just about containing humanity. It was about studying how we adapt to hostile conditions. The Council needs our adaptation capabilities, Eleanor confirmed. But they're afraid of what might happen if humanity learns the truth, that we're not just Earth's children anymore. We're becoming something the galaxy desperately needs, a species that can survive anywhere, adapt to anything, and potentially teach others to do the same. The facility's main door began to glow red as the drones started cutting through. Ethan took up a firing position, his movements calm and controlled despite the chaos. Here, Eleanor thrust the data archive into Naira's hands. This needs to reach the Progressive Alliance, the Council members who believe humanity should be integrated into galactic society. They'll understand what this research really means. What about you? Naira asked, clutching the archive. A sad smile crossed Eleanor's weathered features. I've spent 60 years protecting this facility and its secrets. I won't abandon it now. She moved to another console, initiating what was clearly a final sequence. There's an emergency exit through the old maintenance tunnels. It'll lead you to the surface near the lake shore. Doctor, Ethan started, but Eleanor cut him off. The Council thought they could contain human evolution, study it like a specimen in a lab. They never understood that adaptation isn't just about survival, it's about connection, about reaching beyond ourselves to help others survive too. She looked at Naira. Show them what humanity really is. The main door began to give way, edges melting under intense heat. Eleanor's fingers danced across the controls one last time. The facility's fusion core is going critical. It'll take the drones with it, give you time to escape. Now go. Ethan grabbed Naira's arm, pulling her toward the emergency exit as the first drone breached the main door. They ran through narrow maintenance tunnels, the sound of battle erupting behind them. The archive felt heavy in Naira's arms, weighted not just with data, but with the truth about humanity's role in the galaxy's future. As they emerged onto the storm-swept surface, a massive explosion deep underground shook the earth. Naira's markings dimmed slightly in mourning, but there was no time for grief. The truth they carried had to reach those who could use it. The Progressive Alliance has a hidden outpost in the old Toronto ruins, Ethan said, already planning their next move. We can make it there in 3 days if we move fast. Naira studied him in the aftermath of the explosion, this human who had shown her more about adaptation and survival than years of research ever could. The Council thought they could control human evolution by isolating you. Instead, they created exactly what the galaxy needs, a species that doesn't just survive catastrophe, but learns from it, grows from it, and helps others do the same. Ethan checked their surroundings before setting off north, his movements sure despite the challenging terrain. Then let's show them what humanity can really do when we're given a chance to help instead of just survive. Together, they began their journey through the ruins of a quarantined Earth, carrying with them the hope of not just human survival, but galactic adaptation and renewal. The truth about humanity's evolution wasn't just about becoming stronger or more resilient, it was about becoming better, becoming the change that a dying galaxy desperately needed. The journey to Toronto tested every adaptation humans had developed over generations. 3 days of avoiding enforcement drones, navigating unstable terrain, and battling increasingly volatile weather had pushed both Ethan and Naira to their limits. Yet as they approached the hidden outpost, Naira realized something remarkable: she was adapting too. Her movements had become more fluid, more instinctive. She found herself reading environmental cues the way Ethan did, anticipating dangers before they fully manifested. The data archive they carried seemed to pulse with significance, as if the truth it contained couldn't be confined to mere data crystals. "You're different," Ethan observed as they took shelter in an abandoned warehouse near their destination. "Your reactions, your awareness, you're changing." Naira's golden eyes met his gray ones. "I've been studying the archive during our rest periods." Eleanor's research wasn't just about human adaptation, it was about how human presence affects other species. You don't just adapt, you inspire adaptation in others. Before Ethan could respond, his enhanced senses picked up movement outside. "Company," he whispered, moving to a defensive position. The warehouse door opened to reveal a mixed group of aliens and humans, members of the Progressive Alliance. Their leader, a tall figure with crystalline features, stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Ven," they announced. "We've been monitoring your progress since Station Zero went dark. The Council's forces are not far behind you." As if to emphasize the point, distant explosions lit up the night sky. The Council wasn't just sending drones now, they had deployed their elite containment fleet. Inside the outpost's command center, Naira connected the archive to their systems. The data confirmed everything Eleanor had discovered, and more. "The galactic instability isn't random," she explained, displaying the patterns. "It's following the natural laws of entropy, but at an accelerated rate. The galaxy isn't just becoming more hostile, it's becoming more like Earth. Which is why humanity's adaptations are so crucial," Ambassador Ven added. "You've evolved to thrive in exactly the conditions that are spreading across the galaxy." Ethan studied the data with a tactical eye. "So humanity isn't the threat the Council fears. We're the solution they've been looking for." "More than that," Naira said, her markings pulsing with excitement. The research shows that human adaptive capabilities can be shared. Through controlled environmental exposure and genetic resonance, other species can develop similar adaptive traits. The building shook as the first waves of the containment fleet entered Toronto's airspace. Ambassador Ven moved to a communications array. "We've prepared a transmission that will broadcast Eleanor's research to every system in the galaxy. The Council won't be able to hide the truth any longer. They'll try to stop the transmission," Ethan warned, already formulating a plan. "Then we'll give them something else to worry about," Naira said, pulling up Station Zero's research on human-inspired adaptation techniques. "We can use the outpost's electromagnetic field generators to create a controlled version of Earth's extreme conditions. Show them firsthand what adaptation really means." As the containment fleet descended, Ethan and Naira worked with the Progressive Alliance to transform the outpost into a proving ground. They activated the electromagnetic fields, creating a microcosm of Earth's challenging environment. When the Council forces breached the perimeter, they found themselves in conditions their technology couldn't compensate for. But the defenders weren't just fighting, they were adapting, working together, showing what humanity had learned through generations of survival on Earth. The Council forces watched in astonishment as their opponents grew stronger, more coordinated, more effective with each passing moment. "This is what the Council never understood," Naira broadcasted on all frequencies as the transmission of Eleanor's research began. "Humanity's gift isn't just survival, it's teaching others how to survive. We don't have to fight. We can learn from each other, adapt together, become stronger together." The battle paused as the truth spread across galactic networks. Evidence of the galaxy's deterioration, proof of humanity's evolutionary response, and most importantly, hope for a solution that didn't require control or containment. In the aftermath, as Council ships withdrew and communication channels exploded with discussion and debate, Ethan found Naira monitoring the last of Eleanor's data transfers. "Your markings," he said softly. "They're different." She smiled, her bioluminescence creating patterns he'd never seen before. "My species is highly adaptable too, we just needed the right catalyst. Humanity isn't just changing, you're helping the galaxy change with you." Ambassador Ven approached them, their crystalline features refracting the morning light. "The Council has called for an emergency session. They're voting to end the quarantine and establish a new initiative, the Adaptive Integration Program. Earth will become a training ground for species facing environmental challenges on their home worlds." From Deathworld to Survival Academy, Ethan mused, looking out over the ruins of Toronto. Eleanor would have appreciated the irony. "She understood what we're only now beginning to learn," Naira said, taking his hand. Her touch sent small sparks of adaptive energy between them, a physical manifestation of how humanity's gift was already spreading. The greatest adaptation isn't just surviving adversity, it's learning to thrive in it together. As the sun rose over the changed world, humans and aliens began the work of transformation. Earth was no longer a quarantined death world but a crucible of evolution, a place where species could learn not just to survive but to grow stronger through adversity. And at the heart of it all was humanity's greatest gift, the ability to face impossible odds and emerge not just alive, but better. The story of the Deathworlders was changing. They were no longer the galaxy's greatest threat, but its greatest teachers. And in the end, that was the most powerful adaptation of all.